Очень тяжелый бой, но все-таки я думаю, что Тофурия сможет финишировать Оливейру.
Ilia's got more opportunities than Charles does, but Charles can surprise us with his length, and up the middle would be really, really well suited for him. And the kicks too, body, head type thing, low, high, he could do really well with that.
Heck yeah. So, okay, someone gives you $100,000 to bet.
MMA pros have shared their final predictions, offering expert insights ahead of the epic showdown between Charles Oliveira and Ilia Topuria. Predicting the fight, Sean O'Malley shared his thoughts, expressing that while he would have loved to see a matchup between Ilia Topuria and Islam Makhachev, this bout still excites him. Speaking on the Oliveira versus Topuria showdown, O'Malley admitted that his heart is with Charles Oliveira, but his mind leans toward Ilia Topuria.
Очень тяжелый бой, но все-таки я думаю, что Тофурия сможет финишировать Оливейру.
Sharing his prediction, Arman Tsarukyan backed Ilia Topuria to win. He acknowledged that the fight would be tougher than many expected, but highlighted Topuria's exceptional finishing ability. Tsarukyan believes Ilia has what it takes to stop Charles Oliveira and is confident in his victory.
Да, конечно, Оливейра очень опасный, он с любой позиции может душить. Но просто перевести у Оливейры не такая вольная борьба. Допустим, моя работа, да, я люблю переводить. То есть я его перевожу, и он может контратаку какую-то взять, там, душающий взять, как он взял меня там. То есть это возни не будет. Топурия просто будет работать, боксировать, не будет пытаться его переводить, так как у него намного лучше бокс, чем у Оливейры. А у Оливейры, мне кажется, недостаточно вольной борьбы, чтобы перевести Топурию.
While Arman acknowledged the possibility of Charles Oliveira defeating Ilia, he confidently asserted that Ilia possesses far superior boxing and wrestling skills. He also pointed out weaknesses in Oliveira's style, noting that despite Charles's danger in certain positions, Ilia's strength in takedowns could give him a clear advantage. Arman believes Topuria would have little trouble taking him down.
Man, that's a tougher matchup that a lot of people think. They think Topuria gonna run through Charles, and you never can't Charles Oliveira out. I think he's very tough. Man, but Topuria is good, He's 145. It's going to be a tough fight for both fighters. I don't have an opinion on that. I was leaning more to Topuria, but today I just had a podcast with Charles on my Brazilian channel, and it's just very hard to not like the guy. The guy's, and that makes harder, to pick against him. So I'm going with Charles just because he's Brazilian.
Speaking on the matchup, Renato Moicano also shared his prediction. He acknowledged that while Ilia Topuria is the favorite going into the fight, Charles Oliveira should not be counted out, calling him a tough and dangerous opponent. Moicano revealed that he was initially leaning toward Topuria, but after reconsidering Oliveira's experience and skill set, he has now shifted his prediction in favor of Oliveira.
And he believes in that conviction so much to where, hey, put up Conor, I'll put him to sleep. Put up Charles Oliveira, I'll put him to sleep. Put up Islam, I'll put him to sleep. Like, he has that conviction. And hey, he's told us that twice now in these world title fights. And what did everyone do? Everyone went, I don't know. Volkanovski is a beast. You can't do that. He went out there and he did it. And then he goes, give me Max Holloway. And we're like, oh, I don't know. Max Holloway, the best boxer in the UFC. I don't know if you could do that. He went out there and did it. So him calling for a fight like this, I think the UFC does 100%. I think you give him what he wants.
Backing Ilia Topuria to win, Kamaru Usman also weighed in with his opinion. He highlighted the conviction and fearlessness Topuria brings into every fight. Usman praised Topuria for proving his dominance by defeating top-level opponents like Max Holloway and Alexander Volkanovski, and stated that Ilia has earned every right to be confident going into this matchup.
Because, listen, it's a close fight because Charles Oliveira is the former champion. He has got record after record after record on his ledger. He's been there, done it, and got the t-shirt. And he is the naturally bigger guy coming into this particular fight. And there are things that go against Ilia Topuria. Let's talk about the things that go against Ilia Topuria coming into this, right? He has fought at 155 before. He did it in London, didn't he, against Jai Herbert? We saw that fight ourselves. And if Jai Herbert can drop Ilia Topuria, you better back your bottom dollar that Charles Oliveira
Sharing his thoughts on the fight, Adam Catterall pointed out that it will likely be a close contest and highlighted the impressive fighting career of Charles Oliveira. He also noted that things might be stacked against Ilia Topuria, pointing out that if Jai Herbert was able to drop Topuria, then Oliveira, being naturally the bigger and more experienced fighter, could have an even greater chance of doing the same. Calling Charles Oliveira a reckless fighter, Adam highlighted the strong belief system that drives Oliveira and elevates his performance in every fight. He noted that Charles has the ability to take risks and make the fight exciting, pushing the pace in ways few can. Adam questioned whether Ilia Topuria can truly handle and overcome such an unpredictable and fearless opponent.
Charles Oliveira, in order to be so amazing and become the fans' favourite, is a reckless fighter. That's what makes him so exciting. He is reckless. He is willing to take shots in order to dish shots out. He's willing to put himself in compromising positions in order to get the submissions. He's willing to do all of those things in order to become successful. And 9 times out of 10 recently, not earlier on in his career when he was a 145er, but now he is absolutely excelling in those types of exchanges, mainly because of a belief system that he's got in his own ability.
Yeah.
Can you be that reckless with a man that very rarely presents an opportunity? Yes.
Continuing his review and breakdown, Adam Catterall noted that technically, Ilia Topuria is the more polished fighter. Speaking on the tactical aspects of the matchup, he emphasized that the outcome will heavily depend on Topuria's approach. Whether he allows Charles Oliveira to be his unpredictable, dangerous self, or turns the bout into a clinical performance. Ultimately, Adam believes it all comes down to Topuria's game plan.
Seen him dropped, as I've just said, against Jai Herbert, but look what happened. He tightened up, he didn't present another opportunity, and then he nailed Jai Herbert in the very next round and took him out. So, when I look at the technicalities of each guy, Ilia Topuria is the better guy.
Oof.
I genuinely believe that. I think technically he is the better guy.
Oof.
Will he present the opportunities for Charles to be Charles, or will it be a clinic?
Supporting Adam's stance, Nick Pete also pointed out that Charles Oliveira's recklessness can't be ignored, but at the same time noted the traits that have led to multiple losses in his career, something that weakens his case against Ilia Topuria. While Oliveira has been defeated by several opponents, Topuria remains an unbeaten and extremely tough fighter, with many having tried and failed to beat him. According to Nick, that gives Topuria the edge going into this matchup.
No,
I think because Charles is reckless, as you say, you've made all the right points. He is reckless, but he can afford to be reckless because he's extremely good off his back, extremely good, and that's how he sucks people in. The problem he's got with Ilia is there's no blueprints. There's many blueprints to beat Charles Oliveira. He's lost many times in his career, albeit in the latter stages now against the best of the best. But that recklessness does put him into compromising situations, and he can be stopped. He can be submitted. We've seen both. Ilia, there is no blueprint. There's no way to beat this guy. And so there's two issues you've got there. You're looking at tape of his previous fights, trying to find chinks in the armor that dozens of opponents have tried to find before unsuccessfully.
Meanwhile, Javier Mendez and Tim Welch have also shared their thoughts on the matchup. Javier acknowledged that Ilia Topuria has a higher chance of winning, but admitted he's personally rooting for Charles Oliveira to come out on top. He agreed with Tim Welch's assessment that Topuria is the kind of fighter who's extremely difficult to beat, making this a tough challenge for Oliveira.
Versus Charles Oliveira, who kind of stands in a high Muay Thai stance, marches forward with knees. If someone gave you $100,000 to bet on that fight, who would you bet?
Ilia.
By knockout?
I don't know, but I would if someone gave me $100,000 and but if you're asking me who I would want to win, I'll put Charles. I'll put my money on Charles.
Yeah, that's who you'd want.
Yeah, so that's who I'd want.
Yeah.
But if you'd give me 100 to make 100, if it's that type of even, like you get 100, you can make 100. I would put Ilia.
Yeah.
He feels he cannot be beaten.
Yeah, he really does. I mean, gosh, as well as anybody, like the confidence that's a big one. If one fighter is very, very confident and they can back it up.
Javier further noted that Ilia Topuria is an extremely dangerous fighter. Breaking down the matchup, he explained that Charles Oliveira tends to stand upright, which could give Topuria a perfect opportunity to land a powerful shot to the chin, similar to what he did against Volkanovski. Mendez also pointed out that if Oliveira doesn't effectively use his knees or front kicks up the middle to create space, he may struggle to secure takedowns against Topuria.
I mean, that's a dangerous, dangerous dude.
Yes, very, very dangerous. You know, very, very dangerous.
Why else do you think you would pick Ilia over Charles? What is it about his skill set that you like more?
It's basically because Charles is going to stand in there upright, like you're saying, and when he gets inside, he's going to use that boxing, and Charles' head's going to be up, and Ilia's got a really good way of connecting with that chin on the inside, really, really nice, just like what he did with Volk, you know. And I think if Charles doesn't get him up the middle with knees or front kicks up the middle, he's going to have a hard time with his boxing against him, and he's going to have a hell of a time trying to take him down. So it's going to be one of those where Ilia's got more opportunities than Charles does. But
Javier also pointed out that this fight presents an opportunity where Ilia Topuria has the upper hand. Javier went on to highlight several of Oliveira's strengths, such as his dangerous submissions, creative striking, and unpredictable style, which could play a key role in securing a win if used effectively.
Charles can surprise us with his length, you know, and up the middle would be really, really well suited for him. And the kicks too, you know, body, head type thing, you know, low, high, you know, he could do really well with that.
Heck yeah. So, okay, someone gives you $100,000 to bet. John.
As Ilia Topuria prepares to compete at lightweight, Demetrius Johnson shares his thoughts on the move. He expressed confidence that Topuria will perform well in the division, citing examples of other fighters who have successfully moved up in similar situations. Johnson noted that Topuria is naturally a bigger athlete, and cutting less weight could actually benefit his performance rather than hinder it.
Smaller guy coming up.
It's a smaller coming up. It'll be interesting because he is bigger from when I heard him on the Joe Rogan podcast. Like 191, I think he was walking around. That's massive. So for him to cut to 145, it just seems almost like, how did he do that? But now that he's going up to 155, I always like when athletes go up heavier to their natural weight, right? Like him cutting to 145, that's not natural. He was able to do it. It's almost like Conor when he was cutting to 145. He was looking at Skeletor, you know, knocking on the desk door. Then he went to 55. I was like, okay, feels good. He beat Eddie Alvarez, and then, you know, Conor, you know, went off and fought Floyd. Shit was history. But I think he's gonna look good at 155. I think he's gonna have to deal with, you know, people look good when they fight people who are there in the same size. I'll never forget.
MMA Guru went on to highlight Ilia Topuria as a true menace in the octagon. He noted that the way Topuria has secured victories in his earlier fights has made him a rising star with a strong following. Leading up to the fight, MMA Guru believes Topuria has a good chance to win convincingly and further establish his name in the sport.
Because he's such a name now in Spain, and he's a big followed guy. He got loads of views on JRE. But the thing about Ilia is, normally with him, the featherweight champion just became champ. He knocked out Volkanovski, he knocked out Holloway back-to-back. You would think the next fight he'd be some minus 1,000 favorite. But now he's got to be put into these 50-50s. He's forced it upon himself because he doesn't want to reset hunger. He needs to maintain hunger because he's now made the millions. I think he was already quite well off anyway. He's quite a smart dude.
Acknowledging Ilia Topuria's run at lightweight, Luke Thomas also shared his thoughts. He noted that Ilia has made an impressive rise in a very short time, proving his dominance back-to-back and earning his place as one of the most favored and admired figures in MMA history. He also offered a comparative analysis of each fighter involved in the upcoming matchup.
As it pertains to that Topuria versus Oliveira fight, I love this fight. I love this fight. Topuria going up at 55, I think I would have loved to see him stick around at 45. The weight cut was a problem. We all know the story. Here he is at 55. We already know his power carries. He seems driven. We just saw a guy in his 20s win the welterweight title. It'd be really nice to see somebody in their 20s win the lightweight title. Like, that would be a lot of fun. Oliveira is an absolute guaranteed war horse that you know will bring the fight to Topuria. No question about it. A guy who was a champion himself. A guy who's had an incredibly decorated run at lightweight. A guy who took him a little bit of time to figure out who he was and get things right in his career, but as he did, he turned into a fan favorite and a beloved figure in the fight game. And I think
Luke further went on to assert that this matchup is the perfect fit for International Fight Week, confidently picking Ilia Topuria as the winner. He reflected on Topuria's journey, highlighting how important winning the belt is for him and how it could open the door to even bigger opportunities moving forward.
I suspect Topuria will win. I had not seen the odds. I do believe that is probably coming. But I love this fight, and I love what it means for Topuria to be at lightweight. Again, it's one of those things where I wish... Now, he had some epic fights on his way out the door at 45. I just wish he would have stuck around longer. But, again, same kind of thing. The possibility of what's ahead at 55 to me is incredibly exciting. And, of course, Topuria himself trying to become a champion in 2 different weight classes here on that. And that should not get lost either. And to have done so, or assuming he gets it done, to do so as quickly as he has done it would be very, I don't think the fastest, but certainly a very quick road to that title, given how long he's been in the UFC. Thrilling, the right kind of main event, I think, for International Fight Week.
Meanwhile, Henry Cejudo discussed Ilia Topuria's potential with Khabib Nurmagomedov. He highlighted that Topuria must earn that opportunity by securing a clear victory over Charles first.
Ilia Topuria. I like what Ilia Topuria is doing. I really do. I like the fact that he's saying, you know what? I want to go up to 155 pounds, fight the #1 contender. If he wins, and then if he wins that, then he fights Islam. I think that's good, brother. Look, listen, Ilia Topuria knocked out 2 first ballot Hall of Famers. You know what I'm saying? Volkanovski and Max Holloway. Those guys are amongst the greatest featherweights of all time. I think he deserves.
I think if he move up and he beat somebody like Dustin Poirier or Charles Oliveira, he's next on the line. Why not? Because there is nobody.
So you don't think right now Ilia deserves a shot at 155 pounds?
Without fighting in 155? Without? No, I don't agree.
Adding on, Robert Whittaker also shared his thoughts on the upcoming fight, expressing his support for Charles Oliveira. He said he wants Oliveira to win, noting that Charles hasn't had many recent opportunities to come out on top and has faced a string of setbacks. At the same time, Whittaker acknowledged that if Ilia Topuria wins, it would be a major statement, potentially setting up a high-profile showdown with Islam Makhachev in the future.
That if they're successful,
yeah.
Ilia fighting Charles, I'm stoked to see Charles get this opportunity.
Yeah.
Just because he wasn't really going to get that opportunity, having lost to
Arman.
Arman and Islam, to be honest. But I want that for him. I love the Charles story, right?
Yeah.
But I do think it is the best entry fight for Ilia to fight Islam. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, man. After especially seeing that Max Holloway fight, and I know Max was drained and he just fought at lightweight, came down, he looked noticeably skinny, but
Robert Whittaker also pointed out that Topuria's grappling and wrestling skills make him confident in exchanges with Oliveira and prevent him from being intimidated by the former champion's ground game.
The stature and the body positioning between the two, I'm just seeing parallels. I really think that Ilia is going to use his low stance and he's going to knock Charles out. We've seen Charles get dropped by a few people now. I don't know. I don't think Charles should be such a heavy underdog like he is now, but I do reckon Topuria is going to win that one. Just by the way he usually does.
Charles does get dropped. He does get dropped in fights, and Ilia is so good at cementing those.
Yeah.
At sensing blood. He's so good at finishing fights.
Yeah. He's so patient. He's willing to also take hits as well because he knows that his time will come,
Yeah, and his wrestling and grappling lends himself to not being afraid of Charles' ground.
Yep. Moving on, Robert highlighted the key fighting skills that give Ilia Topuria an edge over Charles Oliveira. He broke it down by noting that Topuria possesses a strong grappling technique. This contrast in styles, according to Whittaker, makes the fight even more intriguing than many might expect.
Of not being afraid to jump into Charles' guard, to move into that position, to start landing some ground and pound, to enter the grapple space, which is what allows Charles a lot of the times to get back to his feet.
Moving on, as speculation around the matchup continues, Mighty Mouse made a bold prediction. He asserted that the reason Ilia Topuria is favored is that Charles Oliveira, in his past few fights, has not only been hurt, but also dropped by his opponents. He predicted that Ilia won't just hurt Charles, but will finish him in a similar fashion to how Islam Makhachev did.
The reason why is because when you look at Charles Oliveira's last couple of fights, when he fought Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler even, he's been hurt in every single one of those fights.
Yeah.
He gets dropped and he goes to his back. And then a lot of those guys, even Islam hurt him on the feet. And a lot of those guys don't follow him to the ground. They allowed him to get back up and he gets back in a gunfight and he's able to put those guys out. Now, I am betting on that Ilia Topuria is going to hurt him, and when he does hurt him, he's going to fall into the ground and try to finish him like Islam did. Now, Charles Oliveira can win that fight because...
Additionally, Demetrius Johnson acknowledged that Charles Oliveira has a real chance to win, pointing out that Ilia Topuria was hurt by Jai Herbert in the past. However, he emphasized that Ilia quickly recovered and went on to knock Herbert out, showcasing his resilience and striking power. While Johnson favored Ilia, he stressed that the matchup would be highly competitive, expecting it to go beyond 3 rounds in an engaging battle of styles and tendencies.
We have seen Ilia Topuria been hurt before from a taller guy by Jai Herbert. Jai Herbert was able to rock him multiple times, but Ilia Topuria was able to make the adjustments, and he ended up knocking out Jai Herbert. So at the end of the day, I'm gonna go with Ilia Topuria, and I know someone's getting knocked the fuck out. Somebody's getting finished. Like, yeah, if nobody gets finished, I will be shocked.
I'm curious what the prize picks will be on that one. Is it going to be below 2 rounds, over or less than 2 rounds, or more than 2 rounds? I'm curious.
They're gonna go more than 2 rounds. I know they will. They will. I mean, it'll be interesting. Like I'll tell you what, your boy here is picking less on that rounds. I'll tell you that right now.
Dude, Charles, he just sometimes he comes out, gets in your grill. He stands so tall because he trusts his guards so.
At the same time, Tim Welch highlighted the exceptional fighting attributes of Charles Oliveira that could pose serious problems for Ilia Topuria. He pointed out that Charles has one of the best guards in all of MMA and believes that he has the tendency and potential to withstand Ilia's pressure. Welch also praised Ilia's composure and his ability to absorb pressure of all kinds, noting that this mental toughness makes him a truly formidable opponent.
So much. He's got one of the best guards in MMA. He'll butcher you from the guard, and if you overextend yourself on one punch, he's gonna be crawling his legs up. You're gonna be defending off an omoplata, something.
Okay, yeah, for sure. One thing I see about him when someone throws body shots on him, he doesn't reach for that, so it'll leave that left hook open for Topuria.
God, dude.
Still come up top.
Topuria is just something special to watch. Just watching him and his calmness and his patient pressure and how loose he is, and usually people can't really get away with that wide boxing low stance, and he just does. It's just so sick.
Makes it look good too.
He does. He does.
I think somebody who's able to expose him, like...
The predictions are in. Topuria's power or Oliveira's unpredictability. MMA legends and top analysts are split, but one thing's certain, this fight is going to be fireworks. Will Ilia continue his unbeaten rise, or will Charles remind the world why he's a former champ? Drop your pick in the comments. Hit that like button if you're ready for war inside the octagon, and don't forget to subscribe for more fight breakdowns and exclusive insights. Fight night can't come soon enough.